that I was nervous about becoming a father, but that didn't help quell my anxiety. My mind filled with innumerable baseless terrors of stillbirths and nuchal cords and all manner of physiological defects. A dispossessed thing, large-eyed and staring, milky blind, congealing in a forever soup inside my wife's body. I envisioned a womb full of life one moment, vacant the next, as if a fetus was something as tenuous as a wish or a dream, and just as liable to disappear in the same fashion. It was an irrational fear. There was nothing in Rebecca's or my genetic makeup to suggest there'd be a problem, and by all accounts the fetus was strong and healthy. Yet by the end of that first trimester, I couldn't shake the certainty that some dark wraith had arrived unbidden into our lives, that this thing had moved into our home, had latched onto us, or more specifically onto the baby, and would not go away. I handled this the way I'd learned to handle most things in my life. I put on a false face and practiced the art of human mimicry. To keep my mind off my mounting unease about the baby, I plunged headfirst into work. This was nothing new to me. Since my graduation from law school, I had always put my nose down and gotten it done. But I let work consume me. Let it take all the time it wanted and relished the evenings when I had to work late at the firm or bring reams of legal documents home to pore over deep into the night. The result of this extra time and energy got me high praise at Morrison & Hughes, the Manhattan law firm where I'd been working for the past 5 years. Desperate for distraction, I had sweated my way for months through a particularly daunting legal entanglement with one of Bryce Morrison's wealthiest and shadiest clients, Remy Stein. The issue ultimately went before a judge where my dedication to this client's cause paid off. He and I left the courtroom that afternoon, sweat pooling in my armpits, an ear-to-ear grin on Stein's ruby-red face. For my efforts, I received an engraved crystal award, thick as a phone book, and a shiny new office on the 5th floor where a wall of windows gazed dizzyingly through a maze of skyscrapers and office buildings downtown. Before I was fully moved in, I rested my sweaty forehead against the cool glass of one window and peered down. Below was a trash-strewn alleyway, cluttered with dumpsters and a blazing bit of brick wall graffito that quite ominously proclaimed, "The past is never dead." This admittedly did not help ease my state of mind. Rebecca didn't notice this change in me at first. She was still working, editing manuscripts from a pool of clients she had cultivated after leaving the publishing house where she'd worked previously, and was in overall high spirits. She looked perpetually radiant, with her curled copper hair swept behind her ears, and her green cat's eyes alight. The freckles across the delicate saddle of her nose had become as pronounced as flecks of mica. It was like the baby was emitting some spectral light from inside her. One morning I came out of the bedroom to find her sitting at the kitchen table eating raspberries from a small bowl, one of her client's manuscripts on the table in front of her. She was in a robe, one bare leg tucked under her thigh, her hair shining in a slant of midday sun. I had spent too many hours at the office the night before, had gotten only a few scant moments of restless sleep, and so I staggered over to the coffee pot, took a mug down from the cupboard and poured a full cup. I sensed something in my wife, her thoughts moving about in that brilliant head of hers. I turned and looked at her, stared at her for several moments, in fact, unobserved, losing myself for a time in that pale white tract of scalp where her coppery hair lay parted. The constellation of earrings along the perimeter of one ear caught the sunlight and momentarily blinded me. "How's the novel?" "Oh," she said, curling one corner of the manuscript page between her thumb and forefinger. "The author is obsessed with head-hopping." "What's that?" "He's telling the bulk of the novel in first person, then he jumps at random into some other character's head in third person. It's jarring." "Maybe there's a reason for it in the end," I said. I kept looking at my wife, sensing some disquiet moving around inside her, just beneath the surface. "Hey," she said, looking up at me. "Can we talk for a second?" "Of course." I sat at the table. The manuscript in front of her looked as thick as a cake box. There were red pin marks on the top page.